My day in the life includes as much as 200 grams of sugar, 3,000 milligrams of sodium, and unusually high quantities of certain fluids. This has become cause for concern for some of my viewing audience, and my doctor has made a couple comments about it as well. Focus on your health, not your weight. Your weight is perfectly fine. The first time a real life human doctor said this to me was unreal, and it was pretty recent. Because well over a decade of doctor's visits included strong encouragement and concerned recommendations to gain weight because I had a BMI of under 16. So fast forward to 2026, and for doctors to be like, okay, you're good. Your BMI, like you're perfectly average. You can now end your caloric surplus. Okay, that's great. Actually, that was pretty crazy to hear. But now I'm in a groove, and we're shooting for the big leagues. Not too big, but a little bigger. But this concoction of food and drinks have undeniably had a direct effect on my health that I now notice on a daily basis. Most of these I did not predict in the slightest, so let's just start with a random one. Fingernails. I've never really given my fingernails any attention, but I actually notice them now. Okay, so I'm blessed with not being a nail biter, and I used to cut them, I don't know, once every 3 to 4 weeks, but now I have to clip my nails as often as once a week to maintain the same length. Normally, nail growth slows as you age and in colder months, but I have not exactly gotten younger, and it's the dead of winter, and yet my nails grow like bamboo right now. It's so weird. Of course, I googled why, and the results, aside from seasonal changes, include 1. A nutrient-rich diet, 2. Improved circulation and blood flow, and 3. Getting pregnant. And though my stomach has grown slightly this year, I don't believe I'm boy preggers, and so we're left with the first two, which if this was the only change in my life, I would think it's just coincidental. But these two causes of bodily changes clearly carry over to other aspects. Many people have commented on the dark circles under my eyes, which rapidly worsened when I entered a caloric surplus. It looks to have come down to rest and maybe vitamin D, even though I had continued sleeping the regular 7.5 hours I've gotten for the past couple years. This increase in food consumption absolutely wrecked my energy from November through January. I was taking sporadic naps and would tire out so quick every day. I've since learned that eating excessive amounts right before bed wrecks your sleep because your body has to focus on digestion before it can even start resting. Not to mention just the amount of energy processing 3 times the amount of food my body's used to each day took some adjusting. So I'm sleeping 9.5 hours right now to compensate. Now I'm narrating this video about 2 weeks after writing, and I've since been able to drop to 9 hours to feel rested, so I think I'm gradually adjusting to this new number of calories. But still, more sleep means less time to do everything, including actually eating. Over 3,000 calories a day has not been easy, and up until recently, it's been entirely by cooking at home. So this month, I finally reintroduced a little bit of eating out. Even better is when I don't have to spend every waking second thinking about or preparing the food, and so I'm once again using Uber Eats to make some of my meals as efficient as possible. Using Uber Eats means ordering from hundreds of restaurants where any meal imaginable will be dropped off at my doorstep at any time that I want. It's just so painless from start to finish. I browse, order, track, and it's here. My favorite thing to do is just quickly reorder the exact same thing I got before. Uber Eats delivers national chains, tons of local spots, and the groceries. So even when I am cooking, which is still most meals right now, I can get all my fresh ingredients through the same app from my regular go-to grocery stores, which I do anytime I can't be asked to mull about in the aisles myself. So if you want some food to magically spawn at your door, you can use my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen and use the code HERPING15 to get $15 off your first order with a minimum basket size of $20. Thank you to Uber Eats for sponsoring. Going past what we can see, I have to talk about how my skin feels, because wouldn't you like to know? I'm naturally moisturized now, even though it's winter. Okay, sure, my hands are cooked 24/7 because I wash excessively and use a lot of climbing chalk, But one of the blackest things about me has always been my lotion usage. I go through more bottles of lotion than a 13-year-old boy just to keep my knees from looking like someone snorted coke off of them. Back in school, my friend nicknamed me Reptile before I even kept my first snake because my dry skin would shed off if I didn't lube myself head to toe. But today, and this entire winter, I've used no moisturizer aside from on my hands, and yet my skin has been softer and smoother than ever before. Now, I've always drank a lot of just regular water, but my hydration is off the charts today. I imagine the number one source of this is the excessive amount of milk. What a surprise. I'm curious if anyone else has seen billboards, like on the highway, that say, "Milk hydrates you better than water." That's all it says. There's no branding, no call to action. It's just a statement on a billboard. I googled them because they just seem kind of weird, and it turns out big milk is a thing. Like, basically, fewer people are drinking milk today, so the milk industry has conducted biased studies to show that drinking milk is better than drinking water. And I don't know how true that is, but what I do know is I be pissing like it's my number one passion. Even on the off day I don't directly drink a ton of fluids, just the amount of food is clearly beneficial enough to make my pee clearer than the Rotamarijuana. Speaking of reptiles again, many snakes can survive without access to water because, well, rodents have moisture in them, and so they can just live off the food they eat. And while it's been a while since I've personally eaten a rat, I now understand this in my own way. I expected the excess oils and milk to make my already oily skin worse and break out, but I'm seeing the opposite effect. Okay, fingernails and skin are cool, I guess. I don't know, but the next couple benefits are ones that truly affect my life on a daily basis. First, just a quick one, nosebleeds. I'm a chronic nosebleeder, and in the winter, I used to be dripping like a faucet, anywhere from twice a week to twice a day sometimes. In fact, I got a nosebleed 3 hours ago, which is what sparked the idea for this video. Because when it started, I realized like, oh shoot, my nose is bleeding. And then I realized I haven't had a nosebleed in over a month. This entire winter, I've had maybe 5, but last winter I had at least 20, 25 nosebleeds, and that was with active attempts to avoid blowing my nose, using nasal sprays, and avoiding being punched in the face, which sounds like a joke, but there actually was a time where my friend accidentally smacked me in the face while we were moving something, and immediately, even though it didn't even hurt, my nose started bleeding. This, I believe, comes down not just to hydration, but my immune system. I don't know how my immune system works. I don't want these videos to seem like they're medical advice. I don't have a high school diploma. All I know is I can't remember the last time I have had a flu, a fever, or even just a regular cold that lasts longer than a day. You can probably avoid certain amounts of sickness through isolation or obsessive hygiene or whatever, but I've been out of the house constantly this winter, and I'm no more or less germ conscious than before. I just don't get sick right now. Then again, should I even be surprised? Like, how would a borderline malnourished body possibly fight illness, no matter how small, if the nutrients and energy just isn't there? Even though my diet is weird and it's very full of many things, sure, some bad things like trans fats and excess sugar, but many good things like vitamins and minerals and protein and unsaturated fats. I almost never wake up with an itchy throat or a cough or even a headache. And in the very few cases that I have, it's gone within a day. Like, normally you get that like tickle in your throat and you wake up the next day and you're like, well, I'm sick now. But in the case that I've gotten that tickle a couple times, I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's gone. Where'd it go? And of course, someday I'm gonna get sick again, but as it's looking right now, I'm basically days away from making it through the entire winter for the first time without even experiencing a feverish temperature. Sure, it could be coincidence. I didn't exactly do like a scientific test for this or whatever, and I'm not planning on having anyone spit in my mouth to test this, unless the right girl comes along, of course, but I am curious what you think. Now, each thing I've talked about in this video has gradually become more and more important to me personally, and the next is the biggest so far. My recovery is on a new level. Simply put, A regular day of pushing my body relatively hard exercise-wise in 2024 or early 2025 would require 2 to 3 days of rest and recovery before I could push myself again. In 2026, pushing myself as hard as I have in previous years requires just 1 night of recovery. I go to sleep exhausted, sore, and fatigued, and I wake up with all my health bars refilled. There are exceptions to this, like in the recent video where I tried to run, which is something I never do. I was cooked for about 2 days. But when it comes to my regular routine, my regular exercises like calisthenics or rock climbing, I used to climb just once or twice a week because that's all my hands and wrists and forearms could handle. Like if I tried going more often than this, I'd simply have to stop after like 10 minutes, like I would fall off the wall because I was still so fatigued from the days before. But I can do as much as I want every day now. Okay, now this is kind of excessive, but I did recently climb 5 days in a row, and I would end each session with hands that can't even grip my water bottle properly, but the next morning, I was ready to go again. A final note about recovery. People told me for a couple years to just increase my protein, which I did. Like way back in 2023, I started tracking it, and I was consuming as much as 150 grams per day at one point. However, it was primarily through core power shakes, aka it was just protein and nothing else, and I was still not recovering very well. Today, I actually shoot for less, just a measly 100 grams of protein per day is what I go for, and I'm currently averaging 131 grams per day, but this seems to be plenty, considering I'm getting so much nutrients and calories from other stuff. Next up, another real quick one that I wanted to mention is my hair. It's darker, denser, thicker, softer, less oily, breaks less, and grows faster. Now, I do think this is also just because I restarted my hair, like I shaved my head in 2024, and I use better products now. And while I still haven't nailed hairstyle, and this is slightly off topic, I do suspect it still wouldn't be as healthy as it is today if I went back to my old diet. My body hair also grows faster, which is, why did I include this in the script? Which is a fun fact you didn't ask for, but now you know. Similar to recovery, I'm pretty sure I'm healing externally quicker as well. Like I cut my leg like a week ago. Oh no, a cut. It's just like it healed, scabbed over, and the scab disappeared within days. It used to take longer. I wish I had kept better track of these things, but I didn't even know I would need to. It's like my blood cells are on hyperdrive in every aspect of my body. So the internal health of my organs is where my doctor does make comments where he's like, maybe like, I don't know about this. For example, high blood pressure is common in my family, so it's not a matter of if, but more so when I get high blood pressure myself. I already get readings that are pretty high pretty often, but I'm also eating constantly, so it's kind of just like basically every time I test my blood pressure, I've just eaten because I've always just eaten for the past 4 months. I'm just always eating. Now, undeniably, my diet is likely accelerating the high blood pressure process that's inevitable in my future because of my sodium intake primarily. His other concern is my cholesterol and diabetes risk, both of which I am also genetically predisposed to, will probably experience in my lifetime. Well, I shouldn't say probably, but more likely than, I don't know, we'll see. And my current diet is basically the perfect formula to trigger them, considering my sugar and fat are so high, but I will continue tracking this through regular blood work. The primary downsides in real time as I do this diet is firstly just mental. I still hate eating more than anything else I have to do, and it has not become easier. I dread every meal, I force almost everything, and I can tell my mood is heavily influenced for the worst, not only when I have to eat so much, but when I eat so much and still fall short of the goal that I had set myself, like my daily calorie goal. It ruins my morale, and I go to bed disappointed. I mean, talk about cortisol spikes. My anxiety has unfortunately been higher than it has in a while, but I'm okay with this because I understand why. Like, it's not like it's out of the blue. I can directly correlate sudden spurts of anxiety to my diet, so I just cope and seethe. But yeah, I'm unhappy cooking, I don't like eating, I don't like being full, and even when I do hit the goal, I go to sleep kind of agitated because I know that when I wake up, I have to just start over all over again the next day. But I'm even less happy when I'm not full because then I know that I'm falling short. So I also do want to emphasize, I think I've mentioned it before, but even though I'm trying to retire from being super skinny, this definitely, of course, does not mean you, if you're a skinny person, should gain weight. Like, doctors are 100% right that A, you should prioritize health, and B, I don't need to gain more weight to be healthy. My remaining goals from this point forward are purely for personal, like, aesthetic preferences. However, I also think people should remember that being underweight, like not just skinny, but underweight, while generally less harmful than being overweight, can also reduce your quality of life. I mean, back when I weighed 110 pounds, 100 pounds, I was under 100 pounds a couple years ago, it was undeniably bad for my health. Say you have a BMI similar to what I did, in like the 15 to 17 range or lower. Ultimately, of course, do whatever you prefer and what's best for you, but I can now say from experience that if you have been wondering if it's worth the effort to put on a little bit of fat perhaps, my personal answer is yes, I recommend. It gets my stamp of approval. And yes, everyone I think should check their blood work on a regular basis. I do also want to mention that my blood work was pretty much always normal when I weighed much less, even though I comparatively had a worse quality of life day to day, and I would get sick more often, and I was struggling to recover, and I had low energy. Like, during that time, the tests were like, oh, well, you look fine, but I certainly didn't feel fine. There's some interesting threads on the subreddit r/gainit that talk about the downsides of being below a normal BMI as well, and that is the online forum that I've personally checked the most while trying to gain myself. So as of writing this video, my weight has actually plateaued, even though I've increased my daily calories by another 5%. I've been on 3,150 calories a day for quite a few weeks now. I assume this is because I've been so physically active. I'm just burning too much. But my hope is that I can double the weight I've put on for a total of 20 pounds instead of just 10 pounds, which sets my current goal at 132 pounds at 5'5". I know this series appeals to a very small group of people, and I'm not exactly sure how to make it more engaging, since realistically, like, achieving most of my goals are a matter of slowly repeating boring tasks until it happens. But my channel's success is staked on doing interesting, sporadic things, so I don't have a solution to that problem yet. But if you enjoyed, and you want to simultaneously support me and come chat with me, you can consider becoming a channel member and join the Discord server. So that'll be it. Thanks for watching.